I will be drawing 100 heads today. I will be doing half of them with 1 minute poses, and then I'll be doing the other half with 30-second poses. I think it's really interesting to see how every artist works in these kind of time constraints. So, hopefully, you find it interesting, and let's just get right on to it. I don't like drawing this guy's face. It's I guess that's another conversation about what kind of faces we like to draw, but I'll just blame the bad drawing on because I don't want to draw his face. Yeah, I'm tired of drawing this guy's face. Alright, well, I guess I don't know how much time I'll just use the time I have left. Get rid of this one. I think, this exercise is, because it's so fast, you have to just start, you can start from different areas and this one is hard. And I've already put too much detail. This one's a flop. getting kind of tired. Don't look at me like that. If I get too stuck on the eyes, like I spend too much time on them, I notice I just kind of lose my train of thought. I don't know how I'm gonna do the 30 seconds. It's gonna get really abstract if I want to hit even more. I messed up on my Asian brother. I'm sorry. I will redeem you next time. I think that might just be getting worse and worse. Dang. Sorry, this expression. Gotta love Mark. This is Mark. I'm losing steam. All right. Shoot, I'm losing my seconds. beautiful pose. I'm probably gonna do really bad on this drawing. Just challenging. Yeah. Okay, I actually have no idea how I'm gonna do the 30 seconds thing. This is insane. I was kind of like slowing down and messing up because in my head I was just thinking about like how am I gonna do this in 30 seconds? Oof, this is a crazy pose. I'm sorry, Barry.
exprimer ma love. C'est pas.
So this is the next 50 drawings I'll be doing with the time constraint of 30 seconds. And let's just get right on. Let's just get right into it. I'm getting kind of sloppy. That one was bad. My mind was wandering. I was just thinking about random stuff. I'm gonna need more paper. Oh, this one's not good. So these are the set of drawings, the first 50 that I did with the 1 minute pose. And for this first drawing, is probably going to be maybe the roughest drawing, but I'm just going to now flip through them. And yeah, so as I flip through, we can just kind of see how the drawings progress over time. Mind you, right, these are all 1 minute drawings. And I guess as I flip through, I can kind of maybe see whether I'm starting to get the hang or the pace of the drawing, or just getting a little bit more calibrated. And that's kind of one of the things I love about going to life drawing sessions, especially when, you know, we're working with a very kind of limited time, as in the pose. Especially towards the end of the workshop, you can always feel yourself getting more calibrated, more kind of on point, right? All of your gears are kind of working together much more nicely, and you start to get into this flow. And I think in some of those drawings, I maybe have felt that, but I think because for me, it's a little bit of a high volume of doing 50 drawings, I could feel myself getting a little bit tired, and I started to maybe lose some focus, or my mind would wander, and I could see that affect my drawing. So for these drawings, you know, I tried my best to cover the page and, you know, with the best of my ability, get the entirety of the head. But that's kind of a challenge sometimes. And I would also then start thinking about, like, man, what am I doing? Or my mind would wander, and I would think about, I don't know how I'm going to do this other half with just 30 seconds, where I could see myself not even, you know, not really completing every head with the 1 minute time limit. So, you know, getting that time broken in half, I knew was going to be a challenge. But I think it's really interesting for myself to look at these drawings, because I'm able to see, you know, how I shorthand certain aspects of the face, or, you know, what features I see myself struggling in. And I think one of the kind of great things I realize about doing this exercise is when you're working at such a, you know, relatively higher volume than usual of, you know, 50 drawings, and each one is just 1 minute, you're able to kind of troubleshoot as you go and think about, you know, maybe in what aspects I approach the drawing. I could see, slow myself down. What parts did I get caught up in? And how did that kind of lend to the drawing and the result, right? So, right here, I kind of got caught in the features, and I didn't get the entirety of the head. And, you know, it's really important when I draw that I have this kind of dialogue in my head, and I'm not just mindlessly drawing in some sense. I want to be conscious of what I'm doing, and I want to always, especially in kind of this context of, you know, maybe we want to exercise our kind of drawing ability, and we're trying to focus on some drawing skills or improvement, and challenging ourselves with these kind of timed poses, to kind of have that, you know, conscious dialogue in your head of, you know, seeing what works for you, seeing what doesn't, right? So a lot of times in my comfort zone when I draw, I usually start with kind of the top perimeter of the head, and I kind of envelop it and kind of work from there. But as I was drawing, I do remember I was trying to also experiment with different approaches, right? Um, so what if instead of starting from top to bottom, what if I started from bottom to top, right? How would that work for me, right? In every single situation, for the head that you're drawing from, it's gonna be different, right? It's never every single head, at least for me, that I would want to draw in the same approach, right? So I can feel this kind of coming to the end, and I think in some aspects I could see some of my drawing is maybe suffering. Maybe I'm getting tired from kind of the volume of drawings, right? See right here, I started from the top and I didn't even get into kind of the lower face. And for me personally, I am more comfortable drawing dudes and guys, and maybe that's because I've just drawn more guys and dudes, and that's when I was younger I was just drawing anime dudes with spiky hair and stuff. I was drawing more of that rather than like anime girls, right? So I just have more, I guess, mileage and familiarity. It's kind of more of my comfort zone, right? And for everyone it's different. Maybe some people they're equally comfortable like drawing males and females and stuff like that, but for me, I definitely would say I'm kind of more drawing guys is more of my comfort zone. So usually when I'm drawing the female face, I kind of have to be a little bit more cautious and present with how I'm addressing features and things like that, because my natural drawing hand is very used to drawing the kind of male face. So if I don't kind of take into account and be more sensitive to certain features, the faces that I draw won't really feel as close to the model. They won't feel as feminine. They'll start to get more masculine. So, as you can see in most of the drawings, I'm not able to get everything in there. I'm kind of just getting what, intrigues me and what I think is kind of essential in the moment. So as you can see, I just focusing on the features here, right? And if I see kind of some dynamic shadow patterns, I try to take into account for that. Right, but I think I can feel the sense of the fatigue in my drawing. Right here, I didn't even get kind of the rest of the face, right? Just kind of some shadow shapes. This was a tough pose, and actually I found it quite helpful to have this very limited time constraint for some of these poses, right? Especially for these kind of like, for me, little awkward, uncomfortable positions I'm not used to drawing, because with the limited time, it really forced me to really think about, okay, what is like the essence of this pose, and why is this pose making me feel like I'm looking up? And while I don't think this drawing is successful at all, it really forced me to just think about, okay, what is making up this view right here? What, how do we construct this, and why does this look like this view, right? So just more kind of abbreviations, right? We can really see, and I would say this is my last drawing, and I do like how this one came out. So I'm glad I didn't really hate the last drawing I did for this set. So I didn't really end on a terrible note. So this is now the second half. This is the set where each pose was 30 seconds. So now my time was cut in half. So we'll just kind of flip through right here. And I think this will be interesting to see because, my time is, cut right in half. and I was really kind of a little bit maybe worried. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to address these drawings with such, a shorter time. But I think this will really expose myself, and it'll really kind of show me what are my tendencies when it comes to drawing. How do I shorthand things? What aspects are kind of in my comfort zone, and what parts of the head maybe am I not so comfortable at. So we'll just kind of get right through it. So you can see I'm only really able to get in here kind of the top half, and barely the top half. But I think it's really interesting because sometimes you get some really interesting results, some really interesting abstractions that, sometimes have a nice design and, aesthetic and appeal to it. And that's something I love about, quick drawings, is getting something kind of beautiful, especially when it's, there's no time to really plan as much. It's just kind of an intuitive experience, right? I remember here kind of feeling I was getting sloppy, and it's important that as I was drawing, to kind of stay focused. I think it's very easy in a very quick pose to kind of really let go and just almost not care, right? Because it's like, why should I even care? It's so little time. What can I accomplish? But I think it's really important in these really short poses to just stay focused and just try to make the drawing the best you can in the way that you want to, right? And draw true to what you're trying to accomplish, right? So really fast. I really try my best to try to get the whole head as possible, but it's a challenge. All right, so really interesting. I think you get some interesting results, and for me, especially with a lot of the artists I admire, and I love their work, I love their paintings. A lot of their work is hours have been spent on them. A lot of them are like studio paintings, right? Or just like amazing works. But I'm always interested to see the artist's work on kind of the other side of the spectrum, right? What does your work look like when you're abbreviating, and you are working with very limited time constraints, right? If you're to draw a short pose, what does that look like? What does your drawing at its core and its bare bones look like, right? So I think these quick drawings, they really express the thought. It really kind of shows what my mind is thinking, and how am I trying to distill the model in whatever it is, right? Yeah, so I would say this is kind of like my first time intentionally setting this kind of challenge or exercise, you could say, for myself, with this kind of intentional volume of 51 minute and 30 seconds. But I think this was a great experience for me, for my drawing experience, and I think it's a great way to continue calibrating your hands with your brain and your drawing ability. And yeah, it's just streamlining, and it's almost like, I feel like this is almost like a drawing hack. It's kind of fast forwarding your drawing mileage, right? But that's why it's important that when you're pumping out these drawings with these kind of really fast time constraints, that you want to focus and be intentional with your drawing. You don't want to just draw in a very lousy and sloppy way without focusing and really trying to direct your drawing, because that's how you're going to develop bad drawing habits, right? While some of these may look sloppy, I was trying my best to stay focused and continue having that dialogue in my head of what is working for me, what is not, and what kind of things do I want to try that are new, and how can I approach the next drawing in maybe a different way or the same way. And I start to kind of have this dialogue of seeing what's working for me, what isn't, right? And like here, I think that these features here are just like so interesting, and that that's why I love doing work that's fast and work that's slow, work that is planned, work that's not really planned, right? Because with each kind of approach you take towards this, you're going to get a different result, right? It's a one-of-one result. And a lot of times, like this drawing here, I don't really like this, but there will be drawings that I think are interesting, right? Like I think right here, the result I got here was very interesting, but I don't think I could ever get this if I gave myself a 10-minute time limit, right? And I was really kind of precise and calculating how I wanted to abstract that, right? This one right here is kind of crazy. I was distracted. I remember, I can tell this one's kind of, this is an example of a drawing where I wasn't really being intentional. I was kind of being lousy and phoning it in, and I just kind of thought, oh, it's just 30 seconds. Let me just get this one over with, right? So this is kind of like an example of what I would say you don't really want to do. Because if I do 50 more of drawings in this kind of like approach with this kind of headspace and internal dialogue, I feel like I would probably get worse at drawing, and that's not what we want to do. So I think this one was quite interesting also. This is Mark, and yeah, some of these models that I'm drawing from, I've drawn them before from real life drawing sessions. So it's kind of fun to be able to draw some of these people that I've met and seen in person. And yeah, it's really cool. I think I guess that whole other aspect of life drawing is like the models. Depending on what area you're in, there's just like a rotation of the models, and it's cool to just see. I guess this is a bit off topic, but just drawings and artworks, and you kind of recognize them and things like that. So coming to the end, I think I'm getting tired. I can kind of feel myself getting a little bit sloppy with it. I think this is an interesting kind of abstraction. And here we have the final drawing. So we have the final drawing and then the first drawing. So I would say maybe I got worse. I don't know, but definitely maybe more loose, right? But yeah, that was the 30-second set. One of the kind of, I feel, highlights of drawing these volume of drawings with these kind of time constraints is once you're kind of drawing one after the other, you don't really think so much, right? I kind of experienced this kind of flow, trancey state where I'm not really thinking about much, but had to address the next drawing and continuing to have that inner dialogue in my head, and as I keep going and focusing, right, that gets more clear and clear. So I think it's really important and healthy as an artist to have those moments and experiences where you can really think about your practice, thinking about the way you're working, and things like that, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in all the other different aspects that come with art, right? Whether it's making a beautiful painting or artwork, or building a body of work, or just finishing a drawing or painting, right? So I think it's very essential to always revisit yourself in kind of that context of thinking about, where are you in your practice, and how can you continue to grow, right? I think some artists, they're always in, there's a problem. I feel like some artists, they're always stuck in student mode. They're always just doing studies and always just taking classes, but they're never producing finished works, right? And while I think that is true, once you get into that transition of where you're just producing a lot of, you're focusing on creating finished paintings and artworks, and whatever your craft may be, it's important to always have that dialogue, recircle back and recycle of thinking about, where do you stand within your plane of, skill sets, and where do you want to be, and how can you innovate your craft, and how can you continue, going forward, right? And I think that's how we keep things interesting for ourselves as artists, and that's going to help us keep going in the long run. If any of you would like to be included in maybe the future drawing sessions I do, feel free to send me a picture through email, or you can DM me on Instagram, and I will take the photos and put it into my next batch for a drawing session. Overall, I think this was I feel like this is a great activity to do if, it takes some time, right? You don't need to do 50 drawings, you could do 25 or 20, right? And, give yourself some time constraints, but I really feel like putting yourself in these kind of parameters it can be a fun way and challenging way to, test your abilities and grow as an artist.
Je préférerais